Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you are visiting. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Hayley and I review fragrances. So today's video is going to be all about my top spring fragrance recommendations. I have done a couple of other spring recommendation videos, but they have been specific to certain categories. I did spring gourmands and I also did spring florals, whereas there's a little bit of a mixture in this list. So if you are interested in spring recommendations, please keep on watching. But before we get started on the video, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. It really helps my channel out and I would love to have you as part of this amazing fragrance community. So let's jump into the first fragrance. First up is Isola Blu from Roja, and I am starting off with a luxury fragrance, but this one to me really does embody the springtime. You can also definitely wear this one in the summer, but there is this real spring feel about it. It is totally unisex down the middle, and in essence, this is quite an aromatic, fresh fragrance with a huge dose of woods and also vetiver. But what I pick up in the opening is a blast of different citruses. You're picking up lime, lemon, and bergamot, and then you have this tart, juicy apple note. There's a little bit of coconut. You've got some lavender, which adds to the freshness. And then there are florals. I mostly get the champaca note and then just a general floral feel. But the most prominent notes to me are the vetiver and the woods, which is more in the mid to the dry down. Now, I don't specifically pick out a certain type of wood. It's just got this kind of woody feel about it. And then it's aromatic and fresh, as I've mentioned. And then you have quite a lot of vetiver. Now, I feel like some people might think this is a more masculine leaning fragrance, but I personally feel this is truly unisex, really inviting and cozy. It kind of reminds me of aromatherapy in a way. Like I've gone in for an amazing massage and just all of these amazing notes are coming together from the raw ingredients. It's quite a classic scent profile in general. This is a very timeless fragrance. I feel like so many people will enjoy this. It will definitely be mass appealing and compliment getting because of the freshness in here. I also think this would make a perfect vacation fragrance because of that freshness. I could imagine wearing this somewhere like Italy maybe, or France, and maybe walking by the river. I don't know, that's the kind of vibes I get. But it's just such an uplifting fragrance, very complex. When you look up the notes online, true to Roja form, there are so many notes. And I feel like that doesn't really tell the true story. This is one you really need to try on your own skin because it smells very different on me versus how it smells on my husband. It pulls actually a little bit more masculine on him. The vetiver comes out a lot more. Whereas on me, I get a lot more of the fresh citruses, the aromatic vibe, and then it's more woody in the dry down. But yeah, let me know if you have ever tried Isola Blu from Roja. There's a new one out. I think it's called Isola Sol, which I still haven't tried yet. I think that one maybe probably leans a little bit more feminine based on the notes. All fragrances are unisex, but this fragrance is just perfect for the springtime in my opinion, and I would love to know what you think about it if you've sampled it. So my first recommendation is Isola Blu from Roja. My next recommendation is Patiala by Thameen. Now, if you are a regular viewer of my channel, you will know my love for Peregrina by Thameen, but Patiala has been stealing my heart recently. I keep reaching for this one. It's really addictive. It's a sweet rose and musk fragrance that's quite airy, a little bit ambery too, and it just has this really addictive quality about it. Oh, yeah, I just really love this one at the moment. It's almost becoming tied with Peregrina. I will always love Peregrina, but there's something so easy and wearable about this. Very feminine still, but it's not too sweet. Peregrina is very, very sweet, whereas Patiala has this kind of airy, almost spiciness to it. There's no spices in here. It's probably coming from the amber and the oak moss in the base. It's musky. There's some aldehydes in the opening, although I don't perceive this to be aldehydic at all. It just has this really nice, musky, airy vibe about it. Now, I've heard people compare this a little bit to Baccarat Rouge. If Baccarat Rouge was more of a sweet rose, And I kind of understand that because it has that same airy quality that Baccarat Rouge has, but they don't smell similar to me. It just has that same kind of ambroxan feel to it. I don't know, but to me, this is more of a rose and musk with some amber through it and almost this little spicy kick. So addictive. I can't stop wearing it at the moment. And I feel like this scent profile is perfect for the spring and the summer. I would wear this all year round, but it's a perfect spring scent in my opinion. So my second recommendation is Patiala by Thameen. Next up is a designer recommendation, and I feel like Burberry Goddess is the perfect vanilla for the springtime. And the reason for that is this isn't too sticky and sweet. It's not dense and syrupy. This is quite a light and airy vanilla with a big dose of lavender, and that lavender gives this a real freshness. Now, it's not a typical vanilla, but it's still very mass appealing. But I would just describe this as a very fresh, wearable, easy, everyday type of vanilla scent. And I feel like this is one of the more wearable vanillas in my collection. And the reason that I say that is because sometimes I don't always want to wear a super sweet fragrance. And I love the freshness that this gives. I'm just going to spray a little bit actually. It's just such a beautiful vanilla. And when I think about designer fragrances, there's not many true vanilla designer fragrances on the market. They're normally quite complex or quite sweet, floral and fruity at the same time. Whereas this is more of a straight up vanilla with a big dose of lavender. And that is why I think it's a perfect spring fragrance. And in general, I just think it's a really good designer fragrance. Next up is Latte Mimosa by Nuit. And when I think about spring fragrances, this to me is spring in a bottle. It is the most realistic honeyed florals, smells incredible. Honestly, this is one of the most realistic florals that I have in my collection. And it reminds me of, I don't have this anymore, but we used to have a really big wisteria tree that was trailing alongside the front of our house. We had to cut it down because it was ripping up our driveway. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. And this smelled like the fresh wisteria flowers. Oh my gosh, it was just the most gorgeous smell. And it has this real honeyed vibe about it, but it's sweet, realistic, and natural honey. There's no wisteria note in here, but it reminded me of that so much. Or like going through a beautiful garden. Of course, you have mimosa in here, which you do definitely pick up. It does have this kind of yellow floral vibe about it. Now, I don't know where the name Latte came from because there's no kind of coffee vibe in here. What I get is a mixture of florals with sweet honey, realistic sweet honey. You do get the mimosa, as I've mentioned. There is some ylang ylang in here, but I will say the mimosa is more prominent than the ylang ylang. There's also iris. I think there's a little bit of jasmine, and then you have lots of musk in the base. Spring in a bottle, an incredibly beautiful fragrance. I think this would make an amazing bridal scent. And yeah, I just think this is such a fantastic new release. It's probably now my favorite fragrance from Nuit. Yes, it's definitely my favorite fragrance from Nuit, and I just think it's a perfect, realistic floral that also has a sweetness, but it's not overly sweet. So I would highly recommend Latte Mimosa for the springtime. Next up is Rose America by Nuit Nomade. This is such a juicy raspberry and rose fragrance with this kind of watery aquatic feel about it. It smells like a juicy raspberry cocktail to me with lots of ice in it. I don't know why that's the vibe that I get, but it also has this almost beachy feel about it. You get sweet tart raspberry, you get a very jammy rose, and then it has this watery aquatic dewy kind of feel to it, very fresh and uplifting, which cuts through the sweetness of the raspberry and also the rose. There's some heliotrope and ambrette in the base, which gives this an almost musky feel. A very, very pretty fragrance and very different for Nuit Nomade. This is a brand that I highly recommend. I do have a buying guide on my channel, but if you're looking for a rose and raspberry scent that packs a punch, that smells fresh, and is perfect for the springtime, then I would definitely recommend trying out Rose America. Nuit Nomade sells samples in different size formats, so very easy brand to try. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Rose America for the springtime. My next recommendation is Tuberose Astrale by Maison Crivelli. Now, I've been taking my time getting to know this fragrance because typically I'm not a Tuberose fan, but this one is very unique, as are most of the Maison Crivelli fragrances in my opinion. And I think this one is perfect for the spring, but also the summer. Now, this is tuberose dominant. You definitely pick up the tuberose, but to me, this is a spicy tuberose. So you get a lot of cinnamon throughout the composition, but you also have this very smooth suede note in the dry down. It's a really unique mix of notes. The tuberose is a little bit bubblegummy, but with that spice, I don't know, it makes it really unique to me. I don't normally like bubblegummy tuberoses, but when it's been done like this, with the spice and with the suede, I've just never smelt anything quite like this. I saw someone describe it on Instagram as smelling like they were laying in a field of tuberose and they were by a horse with a leather saddle. I know that is a strange description, but I kind of get what they meant by that because you do pick up the suede, and it's a very luxurious suede note, but you also get that realistic tuberose. Add in a little bit of spice with that cinnamon. Yeah, it's just an intoxicating fragrance. I've not actually worn this out of the house yet, I don't think. So I don't know how it is perceived in terms of compliments, attention, any of that kind of stuff. But if you like tuberose and you want something that's unique, this is one I would recommend that you get a sample of. Very, very different, not your typical floral fragrance. But that being said, it's still perfect for the springtime, but you can wear this one year round as well. So yeah, I really am enjoying this fragrance despite it being a tuberose dominant one. It's not an absolute love, I will say that, but I do really enjoy wearing it. And I wanted to add it in this list for those of you that love tuberose because I really, really like this despite not liking tuberose as a note. So for those of you that like tuberose, you might absolutely love this one. If you have sampled it, please do let me know what you think about it down in the comments. So those were all of my recommendations for today's video. Did anything stand out to you? Please let me know down in the comments. But what I would love to know is, what are your favorite spring fragrances? Please do let me know down in the comments. Hopefully I can find some new fragrances to try. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you in a future video to come. Thank you so much and goodbye.